Hello, everyone. I'm going to scream into the void and tell you all about how I almost died in Tulum a few weeks ago, and no, I'm not being dramatic. I really wish I was. Last month, my friend asked me if I wanted to come with her on a little trip to Mexico, and despite traveling not being the best thing right now, your girl needed a break. Desperately. I booked a flight that day and was like, let's go. And let me tell you, the trip started out great, running around in business class. We rented a car, driving to Tulum, which became a bigger issue later in the story. Stay tuned for that. And stayed in this beautiful bungalow right on the water. So the first day we got there, we ate good. We got up early the next day so we could take a bunch of cute photos on the beach. It was cute. And then we even drove to this nice little hotel nearby that was like on what felt like our own private beach. And we ate breakfast there with this beautiful view. And it was so nice that we decided we were gonna stay there, you know, for a few hours and just enjoy the day. When we finally decided to leave that area, however, was when the trouble started. Let's rewind. When we got to this hotel that was like not our hotel, this separate hotel, the next day, we got there so early that the parking situation was just a tiny bit obscure. So we just parked at a place that we thought was okay and hoped for the best. It was not a good decision because guess whose car got towed in the middle of Tulum? Not only did the car get towed, also that we were a considerably far distance from where we were staying at, and our phones were like, I don't know, on 20% or something. It was not cute. It was not fun. We were terrified. So while we were trying not to panic and frantically asking for help, we thankfully ran into this guy who I'm pretty sure was like the promoter of Tulum, and he basically explained to us what we needed to do to get our car back. He was like, I'll call you a taxi. You're gonna need to go to the police station. Once you get to the police station, call me, even though our phones were like on 10% at this point, and I will translate what you need to do to the police officer, and you'll go downtown somewhere to get your car. So we're like, okay, cool. We get to the police station and are waiting for what has to be at least 45 minutes, despite the fact that there are only 2 other people in this precinct. We finally end up talking to the police officer. Our phones are like literally 10% each at this point, and I can speak a little bit of Spanish, so I was trying to ascertain what he was saying so we can conserve the battery and not call this dude, but eventually we had to get up, get dude on the phone, and he was basically like, yo, you're gonna need to pay these cops 300 pesos under the table, and then you're gonna go down to this obscure location and pay this other dude, which should only be around $100, to go and get your car back. And let me just say, despite the situation being like, you know, so fucked, I still felt safer in this foreign police station than I do around police in the US. And I think that's just saying something. But anyway, so we go to pay this cop, and I shit you not, he literally goes, pay me quickly. Like, these cops know they're corrupt. We leave the police station, hop in this taxi, and head to this obscure lot in the middle of nowhere. When I tell you that it looked sketchy as hell, I'm not exaggerating. This big dude is standing at this giant gate, like, and you have us 2 like foreign women with our phones rapidly declining, praying that our car is inside. And he opens up this giant door and it's like, enter. And it gets worse. We asked our taxi driver to wait outside because, again, it's not a cute situation. We go inside, and in this weird white trailer is this guy, like, who I guess we're supposed to like pay to get our car back. We tell him that the cops are like, yeah, it's 100 USD to get this car back. And he's like, nah, it's gonna be 250. So we, again, are freaking out, genuinely don't have $250 US on us at this moment in time. There's no ATM around, so we start doing everything we can to try to make this guy feel sorry for us so that he'll give us our car back for $100, like the cop said. And it only gets worse because at a certain point he's just like, you know what, we can drive you to an ATM, you know? And like at this point, we're scared of getting sex trafficked because there was literally like that guy that I was telling you about at the gate. Homeboy was standing there with another dude talking outside, be like, hey, tú quieres dos novias? And I know enough Spanish to be like, no, the hell he don't. So we were like, okay, we're not gonna get in this car with these 2 strange men and head to an ATM and never be seen again. So let's hop back in this taxi that we had waiting outside and figure this out. So this is when it gets downhill. You thought it was bad because we got the car towed? No. We get to the ATM, and this is where I noticed that my health or my mental state is rapidly declining. I have taken all honors and advanced math classes when I was in school. So tell me why, while we were in this ATM, I could not, for the life of me, figure out how to do a simple conversion to figure out how much money I needed to take out of the ATM. I know like around 20 pesos equals $1, but I could not put two and two together. I was literally like racking my brain like, what this plus this and like, I remember just being there like feeling super out of it, super disoriented, super tired, and was like, okay, let's just go back and get this car so we can go back to the hotel we were staying at and get our lives together. We head back to the lot with the crazy dudes. Thankfully, we were able to get our car without an issue. I hop in the car, and at this point, I just remember sitting there and feeling cold. And I want you guys to remember that we were in Tulum. In Tulum at this time, it was around like 88 degrees and humid. Felt like 90 something degrees. There's no reason I should be feeling cold in a slightly air-conditioned car. And not only did I start feeling cold, but I remember sitting there, we're driving back to the resort, and I remember just thinking like, please don't let this nausea get worse. The nausea was coming on, and unbeknownst to me, we're pulling into our hotel, projectile vomits on the side of the road. I thought that was bad. I thought I was done. Closed the door. It was a little unsettling. We drive a few more feet just to get into the hotel, open the door again, projectile vomits outside of the car. At this point in the story, if you bad, take a drink every single time I tell you I projectile vomited, because the situation gets worse. It doesn't stop. We get back to the bungalow. My ass decides to vomit again and again and again. And at this point, I'm very confused and freaking out and still like mentally declining. On top of the fact that I only had at that breakfast like chilaquiles and like a side of toast and a few drinks throughout the day. There was nothing left to throw up, and I'm pretty sure I saw blood. Like, hey, why don't you take a cold shower and see if that helps? And I was like, yes, you're right. I hop in the shower, and when I say I'm literally like keeled over, like kneeling in the shower, like telling myself as this water runs down me, I'm not gonna die, I'm not gonna die. And I genuinely thought I was feeling better. That's the scary part. However, that's when the delusions decided to set in. And I'm not even kidding you. At this point, if you were following along, I think it's pretty obvious that I had heat stroke. But the cold shower, you know, I thought would help. But no, my body was far beyond this point, and it only gets worse. I stand up, and somehow I legitimately convince myself that I hear a man outside. Legitimately thought this man was trying to force me to go to the hospital, and like, while I definitely should have been in a hospital, I was convinced that if I ended up in a hospital, I either wasn't going to be allowed back into the US, or they were going to think I have COVID, or it was going to be like super fucking expensive. So I like pulled myself together. My plan was to go out there and just fake being like super healthy despite everything that has unfolded so far in the story. So I finally get up, I managed to walk outside, and is not in the room, and I go insane for like a few seconds. I literally like frantically convince myself that I need to somehow go out and find my friend who's been abducted by this strange man. I frantically start texting her like, where are you? Are you safe? Like, do you need me to come find you? Only to realize that she had sent me a text right there that I didn't read that said, I'm on a call, I will be back. Once I realized this, I'm like, okay, let me just lay down for a bit by this fan. Even though our hotel doesn't have AC, it has this little fan. So I'm like, okay, let me just lay there and calm down. Again, false hope. Start thinking that I'm feeling better. I'm at least not vomiting, okay? I thought that was a win, but I'm laying down on this bed, and this is where the convulsions start to set in. I'm laying on this bed, and my body starts just like a little, it starts like a little twitch, like every 5 seconds or so. And it gets progressively worse throughout the night, as you will see in a second. So eventually comes back, and after everything that we have been through with the police, almost getting sex trafficked, like she's stressed out and also hadn't eaten. She was like, why don't we go like get out of the hotel and go be around people and like get some food. So despite the way I was feeling, I was like, you know what, I will try my best. Okay, let's do it. I get up, grab my things. The moment I step outside, the like literally like I want to say 2-3 minutes after I step outside waiting for her to come out, I notice my jaw starts locking up. And I'm thinking like, I've watched way too many episodes of House to know that this is an issue. I looked at and was like, I'm losing my ability to speak. And she's just like, oh, okay, let's go. So somehow, some way, I make it to the car. She turns on the AC, and I literally at this point, like when I was in the shower, I was like, I'm not gonna die, I'm not gonna die, I'm not gonna die. At this point, I'm like, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Like when I tell you my jaw was locked up, I started feeling like tingles in my body. Like my entire body was like tingling, and I was getting like hot despite the fact that the air conditioning was on and I couldn't speak, and my brain was just gone at this point. I was literally just crying like a mess, like an incompetent mess in this car, like it was terrible. Thankfully, she ends up pulling over at this pharmacy and getting me what's called electrolyte, which I'm pretty sure is just their equivalent of Gatorade. And I chug that, and somehow I'm able to start speaking again. Everything else is still absolutely terrible. I chug that, a bunch of bottles of water, and end up throwing up like on the side of the road a few more times. But we finally make it to this restaurant. I choose to stay in the car because clearly me and stepping outside and anything that does not have air conditioning does not bode well for my body. Also, let me just say, the entire time this was happening, my body was just convulsing in the car the whole time because it needed the AC on, because if I didn't have the AC, I was gonna die, but it wasn't a comfortable AC situation, literally convulsing the whole time. Eventually, I need to go to the bathroom. Also, let me just rewind and say, parks at this restaurant in the middle of the night. Like the moment she gets out of the car, this random guy like literally slides in the car, which is one, terrifying, and two, I'm like, you see a literal like crazy sick person in the car and you think you're gonna try to slide and get some? Like what do you think this is? I literally have to look at him and go, Señor, estoy enferma, por favor, salir. And like eventually the dude leaves, but I'm just like, I'm a crying mess of a state right now. Like guys won't really do anything. Anyway, I finally realized I have to pee. There were only so many things I could do in the car. So I finally was like, okay, I will get up just so I can like go to the bathroom. I finally find her, I make it to the bathroom. The hotel staff see me in this distressed state, and they offer me some juice that they think will help with like la solación, the heat stroke. However, it does not. Upon like taking like 2 sips of this fruity drink, I immediately run to the bathroom, do not make it by the way, and projectile vomit 3 more times. Are you drinking? It was not cute. Not cute at all. At this point, I tell I don't care how much it costs, and I'm a broke girl. I need to sleep in a hotel with AC tonight. Because if not, I'm gonna die. I genuinely think I'm gonna die. Thankfully, she drives me to this hotel that we were thankfully able to find, despite it being like midnight at this point. We get to the hotel, and this guy who decides to take his sweet ass time, despite there being like no one there and seeing how distressed we are, finally gets us a room. I'm trying to communicate the situation to him the best that I can in Spanish. And I'm like, sir, like, please, like, can you get me some water? Is there a medic on this property? Like, I've been dealing with this for hours, literally hours at this point. Like, it is midnight. This started at like 3 p.m. It was an ordeal and it was not stopping. And I know I should have gone to the doctor, but I could not. Opinion, like, can you help me out? Can you help me out? And he's just like, yeah, and no, he doesn't help me out. He leaves, okay? I throw up a few more times, and then at this point, I start thinking to myself that if I fall asleep, I'm not gonna wake up. I'm still shaking, and I'm convincing myself, like, I really thought, like, if I fell asleep that, like, I was gonna be done. And finally, I just resolved to, if I died before I wake, I prayed the Lord my soul to take, because my body just, it passed out. I lost the battle. But thankfully, I woke up, and I wasn't convulsing, so that was a win. Cool. I will chill in this hotel in the AC until they kick me out. And I was able to walk around. I did not vomit in the morning to my knowledge, maybe like once, but I was able to just, you know, breathe and not be shaking and thinking I was gonna die for a few seconds. All of this ends, however, by the time I get a knock on the door telling me that it's time to check out. So I'm like, all right, I grab all my things, and the moment that I walked outside, within 5 minutes, I vomit again. Somehow I make it to the front desk, and like this lady's like, oh, how are you feeling? I was telling her I'm still vomiting whenever I step outside in the heat, but you know, a girl is trying. She tells me to drink Pepto-Bismol, which I eventually try later, which only leads me to vomit. Wasn't a good choice. Anyway, thankfully, they called me a taxi. I make it back to the hotel, and at this point in the trip, I lay down in the bed next to this fan and do not move from Friday until we had to leave on Sunday, except to get up to get water, and anytime I stepped out in the sun for longer than 5 minutes, it was somehow, some way I was able to like get myself in some sort of working condition enough to get to the airport and get through security without them thinking that I had the Rona. And I was able to make it back to my apartment in the US, which I am very incredibly grateful for, because when I tell you guys that I genuinely thought I was going to die, I've not been through that much of a physical traumatic experience in my adult life. The closest thing I think I've ever experienced like that would have had to have been like a number of asthma attacks that I've had in my childhood, where it was like could not breathe. But like my entire body felt like I ran a half marathon, and I know what that feels like. My calves hurt. When I got back to my apartment, it took me like an hour to open a bottle of ginger ale because I just did not have the strength to do so. And then what makes all of this worse is that I was already depressed before I left to go to Mexico. When I tell you guys that the psychological and emotional ramifications of this trip, I don't know what it did to my brain. Heat stroke affects your organs. I was in the deepest state of existential dread and anxiety, but I'm grateful to be alive. If you've made it this far in the video, you're my favorite person on the planet. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, and let me know your own travel horror stories if you have them in the comments down below. If you like story times and want to hear more about the ratchet things that have happened to me, let me know in the comments down below. So with that, I'ma go, but I love y'all, and that's it. You know, stay safe. Bye.